And usually when I came back to town from tours, I usually was resting my voice in my fingertips. And I was in here for 6 months getting the thing ready for the volunteers, and I realized, oh, God, this is a Sunday gig that I do with the trains, and I'm not touring for the first time in my life. But this then became, well, what am I doing with this during the week? So I started inviting my knuckleheads over, my friends, and I'd say, let's play. And so we were playing 2 or 3 times a week in here, jamming.
Wow. Coming to you straight from Fremont, California, this is the Fremont Podcast, dedicated to telling the stories of the past and present of the people and places of the city of Fremont, one conversation at a time.
Hello, this is Khadijah. You are listening to episode 74 of the Fremont Podcast.
Hello, Fremont. This is Z. You are listening to episode 74 of the Fremont Podcast.
Now, here's your host, Ricky B.
So I was just telling Michael, I'm with Michael McNevin down at the Mudpuddle Shop.
Yeah.
When I first moved here in 2014, I saw this place and I fell in love with it. I didn't even know if anything was happening here. It was kind of like this. It seemed like a closed up place most of the time, and I just didn't know if anything was going on.
It's underground for sure. It's got a door, but
yeah.
Where's the door?
And I just fell in love with it. And then at the Christmas parade down in Niles, end of 2022, I saw Michael and a bunch of friends playing music out in the street, and the door was open on the Mudpuddle Shop, and I was like, oh my goodness, this is what is happening right now. Like, after 9 years of being here, I finally have found a way.
It's almost like you were, remember, it took them forever to discover the entry to the Golden Gate Bridge because of fog all the time, so ships kept going by it because they'd have to crisscross going up. That's you.
That's me.
You should have run into it earlier. We've had a lot of jams and gatherings here.
And it's funny, since then I come by here and it's like I see you guys doing jamming out and stuff like that. It's like, how did I miss it for all those years?
You should always come in.
Yeah, that's
always
great.
Come in when you can. And well, here's the thing. I don't have a website. I've had it for 18 years. And
the shop here for 18 years.
I've been in here for 18 years. Been renting it for from the family behind. So I'll just sort of short notice tell people, hey, we're going to jam this Saturday or whatever. And then I'll ping a bunch of people just to get critical mass. If there's a concert, that's different. Then I promote it a little more, and I have a Facebook event page for it. But I haven't really pushed the presence of it on like where I want to have a calendar and accountability, because I'm only here 2 or 3 days a month.
Okay.
It's a clubhouse for the town.
Yeah.
And it's a clubhouse for the musicians.
And
I
love that.
When I'm on tour or traveling, then I don't want to have to feel like I've got too much maintenance over this. It's just a place to gather, and people know where it is.
That's great. That's great. So you've been in the Mudpuddle Shop for 18 years, but you've been in Niles longer than that.
Yeah, I was raised here. So
okay.
We moved in 1966.
Wow.
I was a baby, and then left when I was about 16, 17 years old. I went to 3 high schools. I went out to San Ramon to finish, and that's where we moved to that area. Okay. It was kind of a new area at that point, new little neighborhood.
I imagine there was a lot of new little places popping up.
It was a lot of farmland.
Yeah.
Danville was a town similar to Niles for a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Danville and we used to be bigger than Livermore. Niles was.
Wow.
When we were playing Little League ball when we were kids, Livermore was a tiny little town.
Wow.
There wasn't much to it.
That's crazy.
And now it's all grown up, and Niles kind of has stayed the same. Yeah. Fremont, of course, is bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, we're bigger than Danville and Livermore probably put together for population.
I think so. I was looking at population recently, and I was surprised at how big Fremont was compared to so many of the other cities around here.
Yeah.
So you moved out to San Ramon, and then where'd you go from there?
Let's see. I went to Hayward State. My grades were good enough. I was you grow up in Niles and you have a particular Huck Finn experience, and moving there was difficult. It was a lot of lawns and sidewalks, and not a lot of wild the way there is around here. The bamboo forests and poison oak hill and all the creek areas to go hang out and fish and play. And we used to swim in the lakes all over the place around here.
Wow!
And it was quite a childhood here, but. Danville was a little more structured, I guess,
Okay.
for families, and most of the kids had cars. I was hitchhiking to school, you know. But I got through high school with grades at least, and then got to Hayward State. I studied the first year. Actually, I was not a very successful student. I took the regular classes I was supposed to do, and I was falling asleep at this really early morning class in a gigantic, you know, those larger rooms where people lecture. I was taking mass comm, actually. I thought, it'd be cool to learn about radio and TV. And this guy just put me to sleep. He was a horrible teacher. And I fell asleep through most of the mornings. I slept through his class, and I was getting a D, I think.
Wow.
And I dropped out. I withdrew the winter quarter, and my dad was helping me, you know. He says, hey, you go to work or you go to school, but you can't
drop out.
flunk
You can't
out.
just- yeah.
You can't drop out of a quarter because you got bad grades. So what I needed to do was retool. So the following year, that summer actually, I took a classical guitar class
Oh.
through the summer because I loved music. I was playing guitar. I was self-taught.
So you had played music. You were playing music up to that point.
Yeah. I started here when I was about 14.
Okay.
And I was teaching myself all the acoustic stuff, Neil Young, Cat Stevens, you know, Bojangles, Pink Floyd.
That's awesome.
I was learning rock too, though. I was playing a lot of UFO, Aerosmith. By the time I was 16, I was getting to be pretty good as a lead guitarist. I taught myself some lead, and then when I was at San Ramon, I actually made friends finally by helping to kind of form a band. We had a garage band. We played a lot of UFO, Michael Schenker, Scorpions, Queen.
That's awesome.
You know, and I knew a lot of rock songs that got me through a few high school parties. Us, you know, as a band. But that's as far as it went. I didn't have the hair or the attitude you needed to become like an '80s hair band, because I graduated in '80s. So
well, I was gonna say if you go from something like that and you go into classical guitar, taking classical guitar, there's got to be a different thing going on in your mind. About,
you know what happened was
music.
I loved the guitar, and I wasn't singing or writing songs yet. I could sing the acoustic stuff that I knew. You know, to an extent, I could sing my songs that, you know, James Taylor or whatever.
Yeah.
That was my wheelhouse. Paul Simon, old Elton John, Creedence Clearwater. Those are the bands and artists that I liked growing up. The late '60s, early, you know, Dylan.
Yeah.
Early '70s stuff. You know, Harry Chapin, America. I loved Bread. You know,
that's cool.
People might cheese out when I hear that, but
that was awesome.
But don't forget, I was also playing hard rock, so I have that.
Yeah. Well, you know, I think it's really cool, and it's not just in this particular, like in like your particular scenario, but I think it's interesting when you find musicians that are just really versatile. And you realize their experience, where they came from, like Lady Gaga or like, you know, Katy Perry or whoever. They kind of had like a classical background experience.
That's right. Or show tunes or something.
Exactly. And then all of a sudden they like morph into something, and then in some sense, I mean, down the road they like, you know, transform into something else.
Not everybody, but a lot of musicians always have their parents' record collection.
Right.
My dad had Gordon Lightfoot's a huge influence, and he had Gordon on the turntable all the time, and he was having hits when I was a kid.
Right.
It wasn't like I was only listening to some big band stuff. That my dad was into jazz when he was a kid. My dad was in San Francisco as an underage kid, sneaking into the jazz clubs. He was hearing Charlie Parker up front in the front row in little clubs.
Wow.
And so he had Ray Charles, Mose Allison. They were on the turntable. My oldest brother John, had the Elton John going. My brother Pat had the Pink Floyd and Electric Light Orchestra.
You're getting influences from all over the place.
Yeah, and plus but you know what? I'm an AM radio kid. The bottom line is whatever was on the radio, Hot Rod Lincoln, American Pie.
Yeah.
Anything that was on the radio, I absorbed it.
That's cool.
And I slept to it. I kept the radio on overnight. I slept to the radio.
I was the same way. I went to bed to listening to music, woke up to music. Yeah, that's funny.
Singing it. Coming home and finding that one hit for the week or the month, and going and dialing around on my dad's Zenith radio, trying to find it, because there was KFRC, KYA, and KLIV. Those 3 AM radio stations played, and this was a really great time for music. At about 75, disco hit. I mean, even Rod Stewart turned on us. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No offense, Rod Stewart, but his record with Maggie May, I think it was called Moving Pictures. I had mandolin all over it, and then suddenly he's doing hot legs and disco, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah.
So I had to make a choice.
That's right.
In high school, I had to make a choice,
Yeah.
and I couldn't deal with disco, so I went towards the harder rock and rock and roll.
That's cool.
And but as far as the classical stuff, when I got out of high school, I just didn't have the interest in studying algebra again, So I took that course with Jim Bertram, a classical guitarist there.
Oh, wow.
And all I wanted to do was learn a little bit. And then my dad kind of gave me the riot act. He was going to help me with school, but I also had a job. I had to bag groceries 4 nights a week for 6-hour shifts. It wasn't easy, but I took it seriously enough that summer. I learned like 20 pieces out of this book that this dude sent me home with.
Wow.
And this dude, his name's Jim Bertram. He's passed away. Rest in peace, Jim. Great guy.
Yeah.
He was also a jack of all music trades.
Okay.
He could sight read, which is really difficult for anybody to do. Sight reading on guitar is enormously difficult.
Yeah.
And he loved jazz. So
wow.
He was a beautifully trained classical guitarist, and he knew everything about it. But he could also branch off. That's cool. But his
really cool.
his mentorship meant a lot.
Yeah.
And I auditioned. I didn't know that I was supposed to grow my nails. There's a way to do this.
For playing classical guitar.
Yeah. So through the summer, he didn't care about these little summer kids learning a little bit and playing the really basics, really basic instrumental. Just try to read something here. So
that's cool.
Okay, I went home and learned 20 pieces. And I decided I should be doing something I care about to get through college. So I became a music major and studied with him for a year. But then I switched again. I went to theater, and then I went to short fiction.
Wow.
And I went to the dean, and I said, look, I guess I'm not doing anything that school has. Can we create a special major? And he goes, sure. So
wow.
So I did a creative arts major. I was the only one in it.
That's incredible.
And then I dropped out anyway. I went to my last year. I was probably about I don't know.
Oh my goodness.
A half a year away from getting my whatever the degree would be, which wasn't going to make me any money anyway.
We'll be right back. You can hear the rest of this conversation in just a moment.
Hey, remember that time that you wanted to go to the hardware store, but you couldn't because you had to go to the pet store and they're nowhere near each other? Guess what? Dale Hardware now has a pet center. They have everything you need for your furry friends, so you can go there as an excuse to wander around the aisles and buy more tools.
Looking for a realtor who will keep your heart and mind at peace during the home buying process? Look no further than Jennifer Petroselli at Petroselli Homes Realty Group. Jennifer's dedication to her craft and clients is second to none. She sets the highest standard and makes sure her clients feel supported every step of the way. Just ask one happy client who said, quote, "We definitely would not have found the perfect home without the perfect realtor. Thanks again for the amazing work you do to keep the American dream alive," end quote. Contact Jennifer today and experience her dedication and expertise for yourself. And now, back to our conversation.
I moved to New York in '85 and played the streets in Manhattan around Greenwich Village. I started playing out on the sidewalks.
Well, the thing is that as I'm hearing you talk, I think one of the things that I'm just realizing that I personally value, and I think a lot of people ought to pay attention to and value as well, is that you were doing all of that, exploring all the different styles of music, all the different, even as you were talking about trying to dial in on the radio, you were doing all of that without the ease of like the technology we have today. Yeah. Like, I mean, today we want music, we can download a PDF off the internet, just do a Google search for it or whatever. Or if I want to listen to a song, I can, I can speak to my phone and my phone will play the music. But there's something about the, almost like the grit and the persistence that it takes for somebody who grew up in that era to say, I know I do want to play music, I care about music, and I care about the right kind of music, and to stick with it and to have the patience to find, to find the opportunities to take advantage of whatever you come across,
No doubt.
So I think that's phenomenal. I don't think we give even the musicians that you were listening to and yourself enough credit for the work that it takes.
Well, I appreciate that.
To get that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So not only was it like the 3 radio stations I mentioned, it was 3 or 4 television stations, and we weren't allowed to watch TV. We were not consuming massive amounts of media. What a kid did in the 70s, maybe even into the 80s, and even as CDs started becoming prevalent, you devoured albums.
Right.
You didn't go and pick out a song, and you
You didn't have
get,
you had playlists,
have,
but it was like the mixtapes that
you
people
made a
would
mixtape.
make. Yeah,
In fact,
yeah.
I had friends when I started touring. This is 10 years later, but when I started touring the States in the 90s, I would cruise through. Even in the 90s, cassettes were still. I put out my first record on a cassette in '92.
Wow.
And it was a cassette. CDs were around then, but I didn't have the funds or the wherewithal to do that.
Right.
But I said, well, cassettes were still like easy to create.
Yeah.
But this friend of mine, Andrew Calhoun, I would be driving through. I was in a Corolla at first, and then a 4Runner later. But I drive through Chicago, and he would hand me a cassette, and I wore it out. It had Emmylou Harris on it, and it had various singer-songwriters, but also some really esoteric stuff. And the 3 tapes that he gave me on different trips going through Chicago, he would always load me up with his mixtape. And he was into Dick Gaughan, this amazing songwriter from Scotland. And I was hearing people that I'd never heard because I was, again, an AM radio kid. I didn't even listen to the Grateful Dead when I was growing up. Album rock was, maybe we had 15, 20 LPs in the house.
Okay.
I mean, I wore those out.
Sure.
But I was undereducated. I just absorbed. But the thing is about it, that you do, as a kid from that era, with 3 TVs and 3 stations, you really devour whatever's available, and you absorb it deeper than the way we can now. We get blown away by too much.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
Of the media.
Yeah.
There's too much of it, and it's like, how can you even take it all in?
Yeah. Right. That's exactly right. Yeah, we get so saturated to a point where it's not even helpful. Like it's drowning more than it is like, life-giving in that sense. Yeah. And
I'm not saying it's all bad, man. I mean, I like being able to go to I have a Spotify app now, which is the bane of most musicians, including me. We make nothing anymore. Nobody makes money anymore because of that.
Right.
However, that's the world's the devil's advocate. It's the worldwide radio station. Yeah. And if you want to get exposure, you put your stuff out. Go. When people come in here, this is an immersive place, not just because of all the crazy stuff on the walls, but it's small. Yeah. And it's really intimate. And I don't mind when people bust out a camera and take a few pictures. I do it while I'm in here just to kind of take a picture of some friend that is sitting down for the first time here. But I've had to sort of 86 the heavy duty media out of here, because people come in here and it's palpable. You feel the vibrations of the guitars. You hear everybody singing in a circle around here, and you can't capture that on video.
No.
And I like the video part. I do it too.
It's great,
here and there.
And
I go Facebook Live now.
Yeah.
Because you know what? That brings in more money for the artists. I can only seat 25, 30 people in here.
So tell me, talk about that a little bit. Talk about what. So now that you're back in the Mudpuddle Shop, you've been here for 18 years. What kind of shows are you doing? Who are you bringing in here?
Okay. It started out as a volunteer headquarters. I moved back to Niles in 99 after been gone 22 years.
When did you start writing songs then?
Oh, I started writing in college.
Okay.
So if we go back to that, that's 80, 81, 80, 82, I think, was the first time I started writing a song in college when I was studying classical. That was really intense classical study.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah.
And then the following year, I still had my amp in my dorm room, so I was playing the electric all the time. But I started applying my classical techniques to my steel string guitar playing, and that inspired. And I used to write to music that I'd written. Then I would write lyrics. It's totally the other way around now.
Right.
I write lyrics first, and then I figure out the music.
Okay.
But that was 81, 82. So I woodshedded songs and played bars around the San Ramon Valley for about 8 years.
Okay.
San Ramon, Danville, Walnut Creek, Pleasanton. I made a living doing construction in the day and playing bars at night.
Wow.
And I wasn't playing my own stuff. I wrote a lot of songs. My first 30 or 40 songs were kind of not exposed.
Okay.
I was getting through all the rhymes so I could get to the story.
Do you play any of those songs still today? No.
No. I think the oldest song I play would be 25 and Out of Room.
Okay.
And I wrote it when I was 25.
Okay.
And I did write it in Pleasanton during that era, probably around 87.
Nice.
So that was 6 years after I started writing. And then the next one you have to get to is, so that would have been 83, 87. No. I wrote a song called Castaway and November 4th in New York in 85.
Okay.
So if you go back to 1985, some of those songs are still in the repertoire.
Okay. That's cool.
Not very many. You have to get to 91, 92, like 30 years ago.
Okay.
A lot of those songs are still
started.
songs that I can pull out and play for you.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I wrote like 30 songs in college that I don't play.
Okay. But then you
They're
also...
my beginning songs.
Yeah.
They were really altruistic, fluffy. Oh, save the world. Oh, love is so important. love is the answer kind of stuff, which is great.
Yeah, it's great. Yeah.
Hey, Imagine by John Lennon. But I kind of got into real writing when I got to New York.
What do you mean by that? What do you mean real writing?
It opened up.
Okay.
It opened me up to experiences that were real life, stuff. And so I started mining my past and my present for stories that were real, not making it stuff up kind of thing.
That's cool.
I'm more about storytelling now, and I've actually incorporated a lot of fiction techniques into the writing. So there's some suspense. I start in the middle. I'm not married to the rhyme. If the story's working, nobody pays attention whether I'm rhyming something or not. It's a movie in your head, and I do workshops for songwriting now, and I call it writing the movies in your head. So if they experience the story in their head, then I've succeeded. And that usually means I don't have to use the words love.
Yeah.
I show love as opposed to just saying the word I love you. I'll show a moment that shows the love between two people. It's something that happens.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like that.
Yeah, I'm into that.
Yeah, that's cool. I remember someone talking years ago, and it was, I think before I started paying attention to a lot of the singer-songwriter stuff that was coming out, but somebody was telling me one of the reasons they liked country music was because it gives more distinct hooks on which it catches ideas in your mind and your brain, stimulates the imagination in a different way than
they
say
are
like
really good at that.
Yeah.
Their country music, especially the good stuff. Every genre has stuff that you want to maybe put away, but other stuff that you want to repeat and push play again.
Yeah.
And country music has a really deep tradition of storytelling. And the artists that you find that do that, you go back to them. And usually the hook is entrenched in the story. It's not just because it sounds good, right?
Yeah.
And I work a little backwards.
Okay.
I typically write the narrative of the story, verse after verse, or without really worrying about much. I don't worry about the order.
Okay.
Some people will come up with a title, and they'll go, oh, that's a good title. And then they'll write the hook with the title in it. Oh, that's a good hook now. And then they'll go, okay, now let's write the whole chorus with the hook in it. Okay, that's a good chorus. Now let's write the verses that somehow lead to the chorus.
Yeah.
They do that. And that's a legit,
Sure.
That's the machine, man.
Sure.
If you go to Nashville, they co-write like that twice a day at 10 o'clock and 2 o'clock. They have appointments. And they're good at it.
Yeah.
And I work a little backwards. I write the narrative. I figure out if it's a story I want to tell. And then I just 9 pages of expository storytelling, place, characters, dialogue. Whatever's going on with the scene, it's more like a story.
That is so cool.
A short story than anything with hooks.
Yeah.
Then when I finish writing a lot of what I think is good, strong verses of storytelling, I will then go cherry pick and I go, which one of these lines is the most universal for the whole song? And I'll grab that and I'll go, okay, is that a hook? It doesn't always turn out to be.
Sure.
Or is that a part of a chorus? Which 2-line chorus out of one of my verses seems to be the most descriptive for a repeat? And by the way, some of my songs will be 8 verses, no chorus, no bridge, no repeat. I will actually literally write a song and not have anything repeat because that's what that song wants. I like the song to tell me. So it's not always verse, chorus, bridge, verse, chorus.
Yeah.
I rarely write a song that way. I usually tweak it a little bit, it usually goes out of bounds for
That's cool.
country music.
I think it's really great. I love the idea that you allow the story, the narrative to form, even just the way that it's told, because in some sense, I think when you think of the idea, like say a bridge in a song, you kind of have this outside element that kind of creates a transition or a feature that is extra special to whatever it is. And not every story is told that way. Not every story has that extra outside feature.
That's right. If you go back to Hank Williams, well, a lot of songwriters, I think, recognize that, no matter what era they're from. Sure. Where it's like, well, does this song, and old-timey songs, bridges are a departure. And I think there might be I think they might be more recent than not. If you go back, say, 30, 40, 50 years, I think bridges, I love writing a bridge because the bridge does do what it's supposed to do. When my song wants it, and it's like, this song needs a bridge. Yeah. And and here's the thing I do. I'll cannibalize what I think is it. This just happened. I'm writing a song about Mardi Gras right now. Okay. And so I can let the cat out of the bag on this one because I'm almost done. But I've got like 14 rewrites on this. but it's it's Mardi Gras, and it starts out with Ash Wednesday morning with a puppeteer holding up the wall of a Bywater pub. The puppeteer is and the protagonist is me or a person like me hanging out with this gal who does puppetry outside the jazz tent on Mardi Gras Fat Tuesday. And now what is it? It's Wednesday. Oh, having leftover steak. Okay. Having Bloody Marys and leftover steak. The marionette's got Creole blood. So that's cool. And then puppeteers pulling strings, and I can't repent, but Pinocchio's giving up lies for Lent. Wow. So I got the puppets doing the work of the humans, because the humans are eating steak and drinking on Ash Wednesday when they're not supposed to. If you're Catholic, that's the no-no. That's the reason you have Fat Tuesday, is to get all the debauchery out of your system.
To get it out, yeah.
Well, these two are leaning up against the wall of a bar, holding up the wall of the bar, having margaritas and eating leftover steak on Ash Wednesday. They've already blown it. They've already blown their 40-day Lent is history. But they're saying, but the puppets are giving up lies for Lent. Pinocchio.
That's cool.
It's cool. I'm really excited.
I can't wait to hear that. Yeah, that'll be fun.
It's a journey.
So let's talk about. We're making our way back to the shop here, and so tell me about what kind of shows. Yeah, what got you into the shop, and then what kind of? You said it's a kind of a clubhouse.
Yeah, so I was actually gonna move back to Nashville in 2005. I had a place lined up, and I was gonna, I liked living in Nashville. There's a lot of songwriting there, a lot of friends. I got a lot of friends there. It's not all country music, by the way. It's everything. Americana is real strong there, and that's what I am. Americana. And then my friends next door at the Edison Theater. It's a silent film theater
here in Niles.
Yeah, it's a 1910s silent film theater that Edison built. Edison's company. Asked if I would help lead a volunteer group called Golden Spike to help facilitate the boarding of our antique steam trains here. So I was about to move. I was 2 months away from moving, and they go, there's a little money in it. And I'm like, well, good, because I don't have a job in Nashville. It's hard to make money in Nashville. I was going to have to probably get a job at a Starbucks. And that wasn't appealing to me either. So I said, okay, I'll hang around for a little while and help get this program off the ground. And it took about 6 months to get it going. It was a 40-hour-a-week job that I didn't realize was supposed to be that. They didn't know it was going to take that much work. And so I got with the city of Fremont, police, fire, roads. I probably met with 20 different department reps to approve the CUP to help us facilitate boarding. And then I formed a volunteer crew with 2 antique buses that we refurbished, the Pacific Bus Museum. Wow. I set up bus stops around town, vests with walkie-talkies, and I had them all covering the town because everybody would go to the old train station to board. Well, that's not where you board, and you can't cross a Union Pacific track.
Exactly.
You got to get on the bus and go under Sullivan Underpass and around. So I was running that. I did that for about 7 years. Ended up being a long gig.
Wow, that's
cool.
And
I used this at first as my headquarters. It's right in the middle of town. I could see where the dangerous gaps were. I had a bus terminal across the street, so I could kind of get to all my volunteers within a 2-block radius.
Huh.
I could see where things were happening with the station across the tracks.
Yeah.
And it was perfect. It was a small, and I'd been eyeballing it for a year.
Sure.
The barber that was in here this has been a barber shop since 1920s.
Wow.
Up until I got it.
Huh. It's it'd be a cool little barbershop too.
Yeah, and I'll
for
cut
sure.
your hair. I'll cut your hair if you want. So there's the volunteer shirt. It's one of them.
From when you were running the,
Yeah.
That's cool.
And usually when I came back to town from tours, I usually was resting my voice in my fingertips, in my hands. And people would say, "Hey man, you want to come over and play?" It's like, no, I don't. Because they're going to play,
Right.
They're going to play some old folk or rock. And and I was in here for 6 months getting the thing ready for the volunteers. And I realized, God, this is a Sunday gig that I do with the trains, and I'm not touring for the first time in my life. I'm not having to gig. The money was good enough that I was able to sort of call this a part-time, full-time weekend job.
Okay.
Because it took a lot of work.
Yeah.
I got it dialed in eventually where it wasn't 40 hours a week.
That's cool.
I'm real proud of how it went down.
It sounds like it was amazing.
For
that's cool.
seven or so years,
Wow.
It helped transform the town a little bit.
That's
and,
cool.
And it gave me a home gig. But this then became, well, what am I doing with this during the week? So I started inviting my knuckleheads over, my friends, and I'd say, let's play. And so we were playing 2 or 3 times a week in here, jamming, just playing my old rock. I started playing electric again, which I've been a solo acoustic for a couple, 3 decades.
Wow.
Or whatever, however long it was, at least 2. And then so suddenly I get to play the electric again, and then I jammed my knuckle on the fence back here. It was dark. There was an outhouse way in the back, and so for about 6 weeks I had a little splint on it. It wasn't broken badly. I could still play, but I ended up learning how to play slide, which I'd always wanted to do. I use a Duracell battery. It's right here. Look.
Okay.
And so, so for 18 years, which I didn't expect to happen, I thought I'd be out of here again.
Huh.
We've had about 500, 600 jams in here.
Wow.
Probably about going on 200 listening concerts and quite a few workshops.
That's incredible. I love tuning in. I was able to drop in the night of the parade when I first met you, and I sat in for a while, and it was awesome. I just felt like I didn't grow up here in Niles, but I just felt like this is kind of what embodies what Niles is meant to be. It's supposed to be.
It's quirky.
Yeah, it's quirky. Like you got all this stuff. It does. Yeah, and then
we're across it. We're across the street from the head shop, and we're 3 doors down from the biker bar.
Right.
we're in the right spot.
But it was just super, super cool, and I loved. You had some guest musicians in that night. I don't remember who it was, but they were playing through some music, and it was just. That's one of the things that I never told you this. So I grew up studying more classical music. I did classical voice. So I used to sing
no kidding.
Like arias,
Nice.
opera stuff, and so I have experience doing.
So you know how to read.
I do a bit.
Read,
I can read.
Sight singing and all that difficult stuff.
Yeah. I sang in choirs that won national competitions and stuff like that. It was pretty fun. I love music, but if
you come in here at a jam, if you ever feel like if there's one left in your head and you bust that out, it would bring the house down. Because anything goes in here. There's no rules.
Yeah. Okay.
Covers are originals. Rock, folk, it doesn't matter. We have a thing called jam on, jam off.
Okay.
Which means if somebody's about to play a song, maybe it's an original.
Yeah.
Because everybody will pile in. Everybody will want to play some lead, sing harmonies. If you don't want that, you just say jam off.
Yeah.
And then that one person can play by themselves, or they can say, hey, Mike, play some slide, but that's it. And then everybody else gets the stink eye.
That's cool.
If they start beating on a snare drum or something. But if it's jam on, then it's like, okay, we're doing some Floyd or some Neil or whatever.
Yeah.
And so everybody can jam along, and we all just and when it sounds really good, when everybody in the room can participate. So you could be a rank beginner with a ukulele who knows 2 chords, but if you're in one of the seats and you want to lead a tune, you can lead a tune.
That's cool.
All right. Everybody in the room on any given day is called Los Horribles, the horribles. Okay.
I love that.
And then But then something happens, right? Then harmonies kick in, and suddenly we got this choir happening in here. We go, Los Mediocres, the mediocres, woo! Yeah. Everybody screams. Or if it sounds good when we're the horribles, we all scream it.
That's great.
Because it just you hit that fun moment. And it's really organic. We don't plan it.
That's so cool.
It just happens.
That's so cool.
If you were to come in here.
Yeah.
And just, McNevin said I could do an aria or whatever. I would shush everybody.
That'd be
and you
fun.
know what? If it's something that I'm even slightly familiar with, and I don't like to rehearse.
Yeah.
But I sang tenor, baritone for one season of choir when I was in, because I made the guitar.
Yeah.
The guitar majors didn't have anywhere to go. The classical guitar majors had to be in choir, whether they could sing or not. Scared me to death.
Yeah.
I had a 2-measure solo in college, and I had to wear, and the whole orchestra drops out, and it's just me going.
Just you?
Qui aviderunt oculi mei. I never sang it right once during rehearsals. I was so scared. I was losing my voice. I was turning white. My throat was dry. But the only time I ever sang it right was during the performance. But I was nervous, and I had a lot of vibrato, and that's not why he wanted me. He knew I could hold a straight note the way a boys choir could, without the vibrato. He saw me turn into a frog and a warbler.
That's awesome.
But hey,
that's awesome. I love it. Yeah, I loved what I saw when I was in here with these guys, and I think I just always.
Who it was.
I don't remember.
Well, a lot of friends come to that.
Yeah.
So it could have been Deborah Crooks.
Yeah.
Crooks and Copeland, Base Station band.
Base Station.
Was it them?
Yeah, it was Base Station.
They come here a lot. Keller Sisters get here a lot.
Okay.
I've had some famous people here.
Okay.
The guy who wrote Peaceful Easy Feeling, Jack Tempchin from San Diego.
Wow.
For the Eagles.
That's cool.
Tim Flannery.
Really?
Tim Flannery and the Lunatic Fringe. Tim is the third base coach for the Giants.
Okay.
But he's a deadhead, and he played with like Jerry Jeff Walker.
Wow.
Jerry Jeff Walker's one of his. Jerry Jeff passed away. He's the Bojangles guy. He wrote with Guy Clark. I think they wrote Desperados Waiting for a Train together, or either that or it was a Guy Clark song that Jerry Jeff covered. But all those Texas songwriters are real tight.
Yeah.
And they were later in life influences on me. I didn't start going to Texas until '91 for the Kerrville Folk Fest, and that informed a lot of my my writing. But Tim Flannery showed up here with his band. With Pettibone is his guitar player. He plays with like Lucinda Williams, and this guy's a great guitar player. So, and Jeff Berkeley's an old friend I met in Texas, who's the percussionist / guitar player with Tim. And I've known Jeff forever. I didn't know he was in Tim Flannery's band. In fact, I didn't know Tim Flannery was a musician for a while. But it turns out he's really good. He's really well known. And and he's really good. And he happened to have been the third base Giants coach because he was a San Diego Padre with Bochy. So Jeff tells Tim about the Puddle. And I met Tim. I did a show with Tim at the High Sierra Music Festival. Me and him and Steve Poltz. We were four of us were in a writer's room, late night songwriter sessions at High Sierra Music Festival. And that was my first time meeting Tim. And I was so nervous because he was like Giants guy. It wasn't just his music. It's like, I want to get his autograph and shake his hand. He was so nice. And that was the first time I met him, but he'd heard about this place. Keep in mind, this is a 30-seat venue. He has packed slim 600 people for his album release the same week. And he snuck over here with just the four of his main quartet. And I packed people in here, and I made sure everybody in Niles who played for Niles Electric Braves, my dad's team when I was growing up, all the little leaguers around here that I grew up with, I called them, and I'd say, you like baseball? Because I was making sure that whoever was here had to love music and love the Giants. Yeah. If they were an A's fan, that's great. But if they said anything negative about the Giants, I hung up on them. They were out in the front of the Mudpuddle Shop. He had written a song about Jerry Jeff called Last of the Old Dogs. That became the title cut of his next record. Wow. And he says, McNevin, hey, remember that picture that we took of the four of us and you and sitting in rocking chairs when the sun's going down in front of the Mudpuddle? I want to use that as a cover of the next CD. I'm like, I'm not even on the record. It doesn't matter. It would screw it up to take you out. And I was actually down in San Diego visiting Jeff Berkeley. He was mixing. He's an engineer too, and he was doing the record. Yeah. And I was in the studio recording, and it's like I could have probably just sang a harmony on something we forgot. It didn't matter. I'm not on the record, but I'm on the record cover.
That's so cool. That's very cool.
Yeah. A few, mostly it's intermediate. You would not call them well-known songwriters in the world.
Yeah.
But they're known around the state. So if somebody that I know hundreds of songwriters around who do what I do at my level, 50 seaters, 100 seaters.
Yeah.
If they're coming through town, then I set up a little concert for them and I get them a hotel room.
That's cool.
You know, they can at least get a little money and a place to crash for a day or two.
That's awesome. Well, you're about ready to go on tour yourself, and you've been booking gigs all over the U.S., right? So tell me a little bit about that, and then I want to get you playing a song or two for us.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have an agent now, Baker Booking, out of North Carolina. So if Louise Baker.
Okay.
Just go to bakerbooking.com. If anybody hears this thing and they want me to play for them, call her. That's exciting. She's out of Asheville, North Carolina.
Okay.
So I'll actually be going back there in May to a conference called SURFA, Southeast Regional Folk Alliance. We're going to be wandering the hotels and meeting radio folks. And
that's cool.
That'll
Asheville's
happen
a fun
May.
place. I love that area.
Yeah, I love it too.
Yeah.
I love it. I haven't been there. I used to play Black Mountain.
Oh.
I haven't been there in a while.
Okay.
So this is great.
Yeah.
I'm going to be going back east a little bit. I'm playing in Michigan. I'm playing Wheatland in September. Big festival in Michigan.
Yeah.
So June, I don't know where I am. I mean, you got to go to michaelmcnevin.com.
Yep.
So if you go to that website, my name with a .com at the end, then you can examine when I'm home doing Mudpuddle stuff, and when I'm out on the road.
Cool. And how far are you booked out? Like, you're booked out from now till?
I'm at least through September. Let's see. July, I'm teaching at the California Coast Music Camp for a week. I'm playing Strawberry Music Festival end of May. After I get back from North Carolina, I'm playing the Strawberry up in Nevada City. That's
awesome.
Going to be awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited about that. And I've been playing Strawberry since '93. It's just that I haven't been to their new place and COVID and all that. So
what is it that you? Well, actually, tell me a little bit about these workshops that you do, like these writing shops. Because you were just in Yosemite, or you did a Yosemite writing shop, right?
Yeah, this Yosemite songwriting retreat was online this year, but they have in October in person.
Okay.
Where you actually go up to the gateway of Yosemite, somewhere around Mariposa.
Okay.
I think. And
Nice.
I taught the online thing in the spring. I just finished that. And that's where the song that I was telling you about. The Mardi Gras.
Yeah, Mardi Gras. Yeah.
I think it's going to be called Puppeteer Lent.
Okay.
I think that's the title.
I like that.
It is a hairball,
cool.
man.
Yeah.
I've got Joan of Arc in there. I've got so much cool stuff in this song. I don't even know how to parse it. It's so fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I run a camp in January.
Okay.
Every January called the Pacific Songwriting Camp. It's 4 days. It's about between 65 and 80 adults.
Wow.
Beginner to pro. It's an awesome thing. I got introduced to it in 2012 as a guest. A friend of mine, Tom Prasada Rao from Maryland, was teaching there. And he goes, "Hey, McNevin, I'm in California. What are you doing here?" "I'm teaching at this camp." I was like, "What camp?" You know, I'd never done a camp before. So he invited me down, and Penny Nichols, whose picture was on the wall, I think my co-director has the picture, Caroline. She has the picture. We bring it in January. We bring her picture down and we hang it up. She passed away in 2018, and I took it over with Caroline, and we now run it. She ran 4, twice on the East Coast, twice on the West Coast. Summer Songs East, Summer Songs West, Winter Songs East, Winter Songs West. We're doing the Winter Songs, which is the thing that's left over. She did it full time. Penny Nichols, it was a saint, and she taught me how to teach. And she taught me how to also, she gave us her mentorship before she passed. We were going down there to visit, and we told her, "Hey, we want to take over the camp. We're going to run it in your way." We made some changes that she approved of, which just a little more writing time. We had 43 songs written last camp in 4 days, and then we call it New Song Sunday. So they're motivated to finish a song, or they don't get to play on Sunday night.
That's
But
great.
it's a lot of
great.
beautiful friendship.
Yeah.
I've made more friends there, and so that's kind of like my baby now.
Yeah.
Because
That's cool.
I'm proud of it. I'm proud of Penny's legacy.
Yeah.
And the friendships that I made there were massive amount of friendships and connections. Not for the industry part of it, just because of friendships. From me going there, I became addicted to this camp. It was like, I'd never been to camp as a kid.
Yeah. Okay.
And I didn't know. I was nervous and I was shy. All the things that you go through when you're going to
New
a crowd of
situation.
70
Yeah,
people, and
right.
you don't know anybody, and everybody welcomed me, and they kept welcoming me. It took me 3-4 years to even write a song there.
Huh.
I was going there because I was addicted to the friendships and the fun.
That's cool.
And then playing,
Wow.
I back people. We form Insta bands.
Yeah.
We have all. You'd love it.
Yeah, I'm sure.
You'd love it.
Yeah, I'd love it. Yeah,
You're
it'd be
invited.
awesome. Yeah, thank you. So you've written a couple songs about Niles.
More than a couple.
Yeah, come on.
Let's see.
We'll get you set up here. And
Let me see what I've got in terms of. Let's see. So this will probably pick up everything.
yeah.
I need the mic. Let's see.
Here, let me move this out of the way for a second.
Well, yeah, this will probably pick up everything from here to
Yeah.
here, right?
Okay, yeah, should.
Okay. Anyway, check. All right. So I got the microphone out. I got my guitar. Yeah, this is a song that I was writing. I started writing a song in the cafe down the street, the S&A cafe that one of the locals here owned. Bruce Cates, you might meet him someday.
Okay, yeah. I'd like that.
He's at the end of 2nd Street, and he's got what they call the stump stage.
Huh.
His whole front yard is a stage. He has some bashes down there, music bashes
Wow.
at the end of 2nd
I need to
Street.
check that out.
Anyway, Bruce and Karen owned the restaurant, along with some other locals chipping in. It was a collective restaurant, really, when you get down to it. And since I've been a kid, it's a one-sided railroad town. You know, it's an 1860s typical 5-block little. I mean, we could be in Wyoming. And so I was watching them. They finally decided to do something about all the gravel because the railroad tracks used to be 8 sets across the street. It was a major rail yard when I was a kid. It was an active Southern Pacific rail yard. Then it became Union Pacific. And little by little, the tracks went away. There's only one set. So all that gravel out there was just, parking lot kind of.
Yeah.
And so the city of Fremont had some redevelopment money, and they started changing it. And I was watching the plaza become a plaza.
That's cool.
And so I started this song at the cafe as they did this. And then at the same time, a movie company, a small independent film, came here to do a movie about a rural bankrupt town in Utah that gets bought by a dot-commer who has too much money, too much VC money.
Yeah.
And he it's fictional, but he buys the town, and they used Niles as the set for the town of New Spring, Utah. What's ironic is the script had him, this one of the protagonists, the main character, wanting to put a plaza in the town, and they didn't know that when they came here.
That's hilarious.
And and in the script, people argued about whether they want a fountain in the town plaza.
Wow.
In the script, the fictional town of New Spring argues about whether they're a fountain kind of town, and the Niles E group went back and forth arguing about whether we want a fountain or not. No, it'll cost too much money. No, people are going to pee in it. And I'm like, and I wanted one. Well, what about the moms? Don't they want their kids to be able to throw a nickel in the fountain?
Yeah.
Well, they ended up making this fountain that doesn't even.
It's not.
And it was a drought, and it doesn't work anymore. It was a fire. It's a hazard. Now it's a block of concrete.
Right.
Is all that is.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So I started this song with just writing.
Okay.
And then the film people came, and they poked their head in here, and they said, "What is this?" I don't know. It's Mudpuddle Shop. What do you do? I don't know. We play music. Nothing's for sale. And they said, we're going to do a movie. So they put me in, and I ended up playing Joe the bartender, and I got him in. I was their location scout. They had to put me in it because I was getting him to all the bars, restaurants, and locations.
That's cool. That's very cool.
see.
What was the name of this film?
It was called Weekend King.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it out there? People can find it, or
I think you can find it probably. Maybe maybe through Netflix.
Okay.
Weekend King.
Check it out. Yeah, Weekend King. See if we can find it.
It was a lot of fun. It took them a while to finish the filming. They did about a year's worth of weekends. They were all work people who had a project on the weekends doing this movie. Finished the song in the biker bar down the street about 6 months later, and then they put it in the film. And
Wow.
I have 5 songs in the film.
That's cool. That's
All right.
awesome. All right, let's hear it.
Yeah, here it is. This is called This Town Is Gonna Change. 2, 3. Courthouse can afford a gavel. Up a tree without a paddle. Can't pave a street with glue and gravel. Can't get cable on a radar range. And all the horses that we beat to death, we could have rode them, but we sold the saddles. We're gonna get ourselves a brand new plaza. This town is gonna change. This town is gonna change. I hear it's gonna have a water fountain. Bring a little made-up rain. It might cost a fortune, but look who's counting. This town is gonna change. This town is gonna change. They're going Wi-Fi at the cafe. Even the cows are excited. It'll feel just like Hawaii when they widen all the lanes. Pickups turn to Porsches. Tire kickers turn high rollers like 5 dogs playing poker. For years they all had mange. Man's best friend at 2 a.m. I own the dog that bit me. It's been one long demolition derby, but this town is gonna change. This town is gonna change. The kids study and they walk okay, and they chew a good hillbilly slang, and they can hit a ball through the window of a mini mall, run through amber waves of plain, but they're starstruck by the moving trucks, and they can do without a junk food chain. Cement dries on a new train station. When no one's looking, they can write their names. When no one's looking, they can write their names. Look at me, I'm a dinosaur. I drive slow like I did before. By the vacancy sign of the Belvoir Springs, gaslight rainbow at the other end. This town is gonna change. This town is gonna change. This town is gonna change. This town is gonna change.
That was awesome. I loved it. I loved it. I loved hearing all those elements of the different story coming together like that. Is really cool.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's really cool. I love the perspective too that on that particular point, and I think it's really helpful when you when I was listening. I guess what I'm saying is when I'm listening to this song, I'm realizing that it's not about what is. It's not just about what's stagnant or it's still, but it's about something that causes you to look up and realize that things are on a trajectory somewhere. They're headed somewhere. And I don't know, I think it's kind of cool. It's kind of, it's instead of, it's not just, actually you said something similar to it you said something similar at the beginning of our interview. You were saying that you don't just write about what was, you're writing about kind of like what is, but it's kind of like you're in the middle of a story. Both the past and the present and the future.
Well, you know, this town did argue. They didn't know if they even wanted the trains to board here. I mean, most did.
Yeah.
Most people did.
Yeah.
But they were afraid to see the gravel turn into a plaza. They really were.
Wow.
They were arguing about that. There was a big fight over whether or not you're gonna mess Niles up. You're gonna change it. We don't want it to change. It's like, yeah, but we'll have a stage. They're gonna redo the.
Yeah.
They argued about everything, man.
Wow.
They argued about whether the freight building should be moved from its original spot on Niles Boulevard back to the back of the plaza. I, for one, would have liked to have seen it stay where it was, but they're preserving it. It's an 1860s, 70s building, and it's opened up.
Huh.
So now the people that argued about it now can go out and hear a concert in the plaza and kick back on the lawn and look at that beautiful 1900s train station.
Yeah.
There's the freight building, and then there's a train station.
Yeah. And
you got the hills and the backdrop. You couldn't have done that with a bunch of gravel and arsenic out there.
Right.
But I grew up here, so to me, I don't think it ever was going to change too much. I had to settle. People coming at me because I was part of the program, and I was doing the trains, and I had to argue about those. It's like, no, it's a good thing to have steam trains here. Are you crazy? It's a steam train.
Yeah.
How can you not want to? How is that going to hurt town?
Exactly. Yeah.
It actually goes backwards for us. We bring back all of our history if we do that. So we got our steam train history. This is the first set of railroad tracks that came into the Bay Area during 1860s when they had any railroads.
Yeah.
This was where the Transcontinental Railroad came into the Bay, right here.
We just interviewed Henry from the Niles Canyon Railroad, the president,
Great.
and and he was telling all of this. It was like an hour long worth of local history on the railroad. So it was pretty cool. Yeah.
Well, so when you've got a Huck Finn kid walking around here, and they see a plaza going in, is it ruining the town? Or does it just give them a spot with some fresh cement to put their names?
Yeah,
and in 20 or 30 or 50 years, their names will still be in the concrete of where they redid the train station.
Yeah.
I don't know if any kids did that, but I did on my sidewalk on Washburn Drive. You can go down there where I grew up about 4 blocks over.
Yeah.
And you can see my name in the sidewalk.
Name down there?
Sure,
That's cool.
That's what you should do if you're a kid.
That's right.
You do wreck the sidewalk if you do too much of that. So it pisses off the contractors.
Michael, thank you for joining me. I loved this,
Ricky,
man. It was great.
It was overdue. You got to make yourself a regular here.
There you go.
Man.
I will. I'm going to come hang out as much as I can. And
anytime, man.
Thank you
You're
for
always welcome.
Yeah,
Watch my Facebook wall. Facebook.
Yeah, Facebook. Yeah.
I don't do a lot of announcing all the time on the website about this stuff.
Yeah.
This is the underground part of this. It doesn't get mentioned a whole bunch.
Yep.
So, Michael, look me up on Facebook with Michael McNevin, but follow me at least. I'm always packed on the friends list.
Yeah.
But Facebook.com/Mudpuddle Music.
Okay.
And that's my personal page.
Okay.
It's not I have a band page as well.
You have a band page,
watch,
and that's
band page is Facebook.com/Michael McNevin Music.
Awesome.
All
yeah,
right.
That's great. Thanks, Michael.
Little PSA there.
That's awesome. I love it. Yeah,
right.
we'll give you a plug, and this was great. This was great, man.
Thanks a lot, Ricky.
Looking forward to next time. Yeah, absolutely.
Right. And say hi to Lisa. Tell her thanks.
Yeah.
Thanks for tracking me down.
There you go.
This episode was hosted and produced by Ricky B. I'm Gary Williams. Andrew Cavett is the editor. Rachel Prey is the print editor in charge of our newsletter. Scheduling and pre-interviews by Sarah S. Additional reporting by Mark Emmons. Music provided by Soundstripe.com. You can find everything we make, the podcast, our newsletter, and all of our social media links at thefremontpodcast.com. Be sure to subscribe wherever it is that you listen so you don't miss an episode. And if you would, please leave a review on iTunes. Your reviews help other people find this podcast. Join us next week on the Fremont Podcast.
This is a Muggins Media podcast.